If you are relocating to the Charlotte area and someone told you to look at South Carolina, they weren't wrong. But they probably did not give you the full picture either. I'm Evie DeJesus, your Charlotte real estate agent with eXp Realty. And today, I'm having the conversation that every serious buyer in this market eventually needs to have. Charlotte, North Carolina versus Fort Mill, South Carolina. Two completely different decisions. And depending on your situation, one of them could save you thousands of dollars every single year or cost you in ways you did not expect. You ready? Let's break it all the way down for you. Let's start where most people start. Taxes. Why? Because this is usually the reason South Carolina conversation even comes up in the first place. Here is what the data actually says. Mecklenburg County, which covers Charlotte, has an effective tax rate of around 0.80%. York County, South Carolina, which covers Fort Mill, Rock Hill, and Tega Cay, sits at approximately 0.46%. Big difference, right? But hold up. What does that actually mean in real dollars? On a $450,000 home, you're looking at roughly $3,600 a year in property taxes in Charlotte versus approximately $2,070 a year in Fort Mill. That's a difference of around $1,500 to $2,500 annually, depending on your exact location and price point. I know. But before you pack your bags, there are a few things I need you to understand about how South Carolina taxes actually work. South Carolina uses an assessment ratio system. As a primary homeowner, your property is assessed at just 4% of its market value before the tax rate is applied. That is what creates those lower numbers. But and this is important. If you are buying as a second home or an investment property, that ratio jumps to 6% and your savings shrinks considerably. Also worth noting, if you live in South Carolina and work in North Carolina, you will need to file taxes in both states. It is manageable, but it is an extra layer of complexity at tax time you need to be prepared for. Now let's talk about what your budget actually buys on each side of the line. Fort Mill has a median home price of around $470,000 in 2026. I know that number might surprise you. Fort Mill is not as cheap as it used to be. This town was actually named the fastest growing in the entire country by the US Census, and that growth has driven prices up significantly over the past several years. What Fort Mill still offers, though, is more for your money in terms of square footage, lot size, and newer construction. Buyers moving from Charlotte's south side or from out of state consistently find that they can get a larger, newer home on more land in Fort Mill at a comparable or lower price point than similar products in South Charlotte. Charlotte, on the other hand, gives you range. Depending on the neighborhood you are targeting, you can find entry-level products in the low 300s or luxury homes well above 700,000. The variation is much wider, which means your strategy needs to be much more targeted. Now, for families, this section might be the most important one in the entire video. The Fort Mill School District is consistently ranked as one of the best in the entire state of South Carolina. It is a primary reason families specifically seek out this community. And it has been a reliable draw for relocation buyers for years. If top-rated public schools are a non-negotiable for your family, Fort Mill absolutely delivers on that. Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, or CMS, is a much larger and more complex district. There are excellent schools within CMS, but the quality varies significantly depending on the specific school and zone you are in, like real talk. For buyers with school-aged children purchasing in Charlotte, understanding exactly which school your address is zoned for is not optional. It is essential. You hear me? Do not assume anything. Verify before you make an offer. Do not make this mistake if schools are critical in your buying process. Now, this is where the decision often gets personal. Fort Mill has a genuine small town feel that a lot of buyers are actively looking for. You have got the Ann Springs Close Greenway. That's a 2,100-acre nature preserve. You got to check that out. A charming, historic downtown, community events, farmers markets, and a neighborhood culture that feels tight-knit and intentional. If the pace you are looking for is quieter, more spacious, and community-centered, Fort Mill may check those boxes that you have. Listen, Charlotte gives you energy, access, and options. Uptown, the dining scene, the arts, the professional networking, the airport. All of it is right there. If your lifestyle depends on being close to the city's pulse, staying in Charlotte makes that seamless. Now let's talk about the commute. I'm going to tell you my experience since I'm on these roads every day. Fort Mill sits about 30 to 35 minutes from uptown Charlotte under normal conditions. First off, ain't nothing normal about Charlotte driving conditions. You're either going to find the slowest driver in the left lane, or you're going to find the craziest driver gunning it down I-77, weaving in and out of lanes. But I need to be straight with you. I-77 southbound during peak hours, that's a real whole life conversation. I am just warning you. That 30-minute drive can easily stretch to 60 minutes or more during morning and evening rush hour. If your job is on the north side of Charlotte, this matters even more. So before you commit to living in Fort Mill, drive that commute during rush hour. That one test drive right there, that could be the deciding factor for you. And here is the honest answer. There is no universal right choice between Charlotte and Fort Mill. What there is the right choice for your specific situation. Fort Mill makes the most sense if you are a family prioritizing schools and space, if you are comfortable with the commute and the tax savings align with your financial goals. Keep in mind, not everyone needs to commute into Charlotte, especially if you work remote or you find work in South Carolina. Now, it also makes sense if you are coming from a high cost market and you want to minimize what your budget delivers. Charlotte makes the most sense if your lifestyle depends on city access, your job is located north of the city, or you want the flexibility that comes with being inside a major metro market. Charlotte also gives you more neighborhood variety, which matters if you have a very specific lifestyle or community in mind. And here's what I want you to take away from this video. A lot of buyers make this decision based on one factor, and that's usually taxes, without looking at the full picture. Listen, taxes matter, but so does your commute time, your school time, your lifestyle needs, and your long-term equity position. All of these things have to be weighed together. That is exactly the kind of conversation I have with every one of my relocation clients before we ever look at a single home. Why? Because getting this decision right from the beginning is what protects you long after closing. If you are trying to figure out which side of the state line makes the most sense for your move to the Charlotte area, reach out to me directly. This is a conversation I love having, and I will make sure that you have everything you need to make the right call for your family and your finances. The link to connect with me is in the description. And if this video helped you think through the decision more clearly, subscribe. Because every week I am bringing you the real Charlotte market. No BS, no fluff, just real talk. I will see you in my next video. Later, y'all.